The ABC can reveal more than 31,000 passwords belonging to Australian customers of the big four banks are being shared among cyber criminals online and often for free. The credentials were stolen from the personal devices of more than 14,000 CommBank customers, 7,000 ANZ customers, 5,000 NAB and 4,000 Westpac customers, using a specific kind of malware known as InfoStealer. The discovery comes in the wake of recent attacks on Australian superannuation funds, where stolen passwords were used to try to gain access to members' accounts. The ABC's national technology reporter Ange Lavoie-Pierre is covering the story, and she joins us now. So Ange, what exactly has happened here?
Well, yeah, as you say, this is really more than 31,000 individual breaches rather than one big breach, which is the version we're used to, but no less upsetting for it. So this is, 31,000 people out there who won't necessarily know that this is them. This was some work that researchers at an Australian firm, Devulin, did by looking at online marketplaces such as Telegram groups and some dark web marketplaces that are dedicated to selling the information that is stolen by InfoStealer malware, which is this relatively new type of malware that's just been surging in popularity in the last few years. And it's, this is the other side of things. This is the damage that it does. It's not just taking banking passwords, though. It's taking all kinds of things off its victims' computers. Everything that, is from your clipboard, so you kind of, your copy-paste function, and, your cookies, which can help an attacker get around multi-factor authentication in some cases. Use, browser history, everything that's in your autofill, so maybe 200, 300 passwords in some cases. It's really staggering the amount that is being stolen, and it's not something that people are necessarily aware of. In fact, the Australian Signals Directorate has done reports on this, and they've dubbed it the silent heist, which tells you something, yeah.
And what is the risk for these customers, these thousands of customers? Could they actually lose money here?
Yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario really is that you could be robbed. I mean, we do remember the superannuation attacks from earlier this month, and we saw what could happen, although those funds were replaced. The banks do have a lot of protections in place. They are constantly evolving their techniques to, detect this kind of activity and prevent it before it happens. But of course, it's not a guarantee. And once someone has your password, that is the risk. Your account could also be used in money laundering operations or other kinds of fraud. And I think, the natural question that arose for me, at least when I was looking into this story at first, was, well, if there are so many passwords out there, why isn't this happening all the time? And I think the simple answer is, and what experts told me was, well, it might be happening, but we might just not know that it's InfoStealer malware to blame. We might not be tracing it back to that source.
One of the most extraordinary things about this system is just how cheaply these passwords and the other data is actually going for.
Yeah, it's pretty breathtaking, Gemma, actually. I did speak to the author of this research, whose name's Jamie O'Reilly. He's the founder of this company, Australian cybersecurity firm, Devulin, about how these marketplaces work.
So one of the most common things we see is different cybercrime gangs will have their own special, what they call family of InfoStealer malware. And some of the more prominent ones will set up these, instant messaging-based groups where you essentially, if you're a criminal, you subscribe to these groups, and the prices range depending on what you get. So, for example, you can pay $400 US, and then what that entitles you to is every month, as this gang continues to steal more and more passwords and infect more and more computers, you'll actually get exclusive access to a certain amount of data from computers. And so for $400, you may get 100 to 200,000 new logs from, 100 to 200,000 infected computers from all around the world, not just Australia.
cybersecurity researcher Jamie O'Reilly from Devulin there, and I did work it out. So that $400 subscription fee that he mentioned, that works out to be $626 in Australian money, and it is less than 1 cent per computer, as in like everything on your computer that's being sold on. So yeah, a bit scary.
Yeah, and so if people are hearing this and are rightly worried, what do they need to do?
Well, this is actually a really important point, because I think a lot of the time we feel really powerless when we are breached, in a cyber attack. But that's because, often there is very little that we can do. In this instance, there is quite a bit that people can do to protect themselves against this. It's really a matter of digital hygiene at home. If you are sharing a computer, like a family computer, beware the family computer. A lot of the time malware ends up on devices because, people are downloading cracked, pirated software, torrenting, clicking on a dodgy ad or a dodgy link. And so the more users you have, particularly having kids on there, if they're downloading things for games or whatever, that elevates the risk as well. So have a computer that is just for, banking and, sensitive information, and that should maybe not be the family computer. Also, this is a little bit like telling people to brush their teeth. It feels like kind of boring advice in some ways, but it is so important. Maybe the best thing you can do, make sure your operating system software, make sure that's updated, make sure your antivirus is updated. So 50% of these malware infections do happen on computers where there's antivirus, but it may not be updated. And the companies that run antivirus, they spend a lot of effort and a lot of money keeping things up to date. So make sure you do that.